Yeah, it always delights us to know that you're still with us on Arise Africa, coming to you from your channel of champions, ACBN. And of course, I remain Adeolu Balogun, bringing to you this wonderful day starter. Well, it's never too much to say thanks for being part of our success, always on ACBN. Well, this morning, however, like I said before, we went on that break, that we shall be looking at some issues on morality, on the environment, on the society at large, coming from the traditional settings, of course, to the challenges of the Western development. And of course, well, this morning, however, we shall be looking at how we can, as Nigerians, as Africans, as human beings, put an end to brutality that actually really targeted against the female gender. We shall be citing a case, a recent one, of the Ejigbo scenario. Well, if you've been following news trends lately, especially in Nigeria, you understand that there are actually a few things happened in that part of Lagos State last year, which actually attracted reactions from Nigerians both at home and in diaspora. And as we speak, Nigerians have continued to react to a video that went viral on the internet last year. And of course, well, the video can't be played on the program this morning because of the gory nature it has. It's something really very devastating and disturbing. And of course, well, in the video, several men beat, stripped and tortured two women for allegedly stealing grounded pepper. That's something you'd ask, and of course you don't know further. The men also inserted a bottle of pepper and stick into their private parts. The incident took place in February 2013 at the Central Market in Ejigbo in Lagos, but the video leaked in December last year. The pepper sellers had discovered that their goods were being stolen. They reported this to the vigilante they hired to secure the market, after which a woman and her stepdaughter were reportedly caught for allegedly stealing pepper. After the barbaric torture, both confessed to stealing the pepper and were let go. A year after they were tortured, one of them died. That's of course January this year, and their suspected attackers were walking the streets of Ejigbo in the defense of the law. Meanwhile, Nigerians and human rights activists have mounted pressure on the Lagos State House of Assembly to probe the chairman of Ejigbo Local Government Council, that's of course Kehinde Bambeton, on the incident. Other well-meaning Nigerians have also called on the National Assembly to summon the Inspector General of Police, Dahiru Abubakar, who has also steered proper investigations into the matter. The investigations, of course, have resulted into the arrest of some suspects in the issue. Some of the suspects include members of the Odua People's Congress, well, a traditional vigilante group, and of course some other street hoodlums and some other residents in that area of the state. The National Human Rights Commission has also vowed that perpetrators must account for their actions. I'm sure that you, as our esteemed viewers, if you have passion for human existence, and of course you have feelings for something that happens to your neighbor out there, it's something that has called for reaction. So feel free, hit the lines in due course and time. You'll see the numbers on the screen, and we'll be so glad to have your contributions to this. We're looking at how best you think that torture or some very illegal means of capturing alleged criminals can actually be put to the barest minimum, or even put to an end in due time. I have with me this morning someone who has passion for not only the country, not only citizens, but looking at projecting the national image both at home and in diasporas. Someone who has over the years been working in rebranding, and of course looking at some other very developmental sectors in Nigeria, and of course making Nigeria look as it should in the face of the outer world, of course, especially most the developing countries outside there. I have with me the national coordinator of Building Our National Image, Boni Akinola Sholanke. Good morning, Akinola.
Thank you very much.
How are you this morning?
It's a pleasure. I'm always
It's really my pleasure to have you this morning once again.
I'm glad to be
And
here.
most times we seem to discuss national development and all that, building a national image. But this morning, however, it's something that really attracts the interest of someone who has this greater passion of seeing this very nasty trend come to the barest minimum. Now let's quickly look at this issue as a whole, as something that needs quick attention to. Exactly. Now, how would you describe that incident as a whole? How would you describe the incident that happened in Ejigbo in February last year to the very women?
Like every other people have, condemned it. I condemned it, in a very strong act. It's a barbaric act. It's so unfortunate that it's African. You find stuff like that in African, part of the world, and we need to rise up against it. We lack the respect for human dignity. We don't give that. Not to even talk about women, for example, who have been a major, victims of, men's brutalization, through rape, and so many other molestation and acts. And we need to stand against it. We need to say no to it, and we need to condemn it in strong act.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Well, I can stress that such acts have to be condemned, and of course, that change, it's something that the condemnation will bring a change, and that change, we always stress it, that the change begins with you. Well, let's look at some other developmental issues around that development. Now, let's look at this from this angle. Assuming these women actually stole, now, is it actually, would you say that it is right for such vigilante groups to put the laws into their hands? Well, we know that one of the very devastating parts of consequences of that is that the other lady actually gave up the ghost in the early part of this year. Now, would you say that it is right, notwithstanding the consequences, not considering any consequences of even losing her life in the process, would you say that it is right for such vigilante groups to put laws into their hands?
It is very wrong. In a normal society, everybody in the society is supposed to cooperate with the security operatives to stem crime and, of course, violence in the society. And that is very clear. That is very simple. What we see playing out itself is what is called jungle justice, where the mob lynching and just taking laws into their hands. And, of course, they will give you reasons for it. So, but what they did was wrong. It was clearly wrong. They shouldn't have taken that into account. But you, from experiences, you understand, why people do such things. For example, they will tell you that if they hand them over to the police will, probably release them in some ways and so on. Even the last one that happened, I think 2 years ago, about the Uniport students. They were. That's
it has been tagged Adeolu 4.
Adeolu 4, yeah. Yes. They said if they handed them over to the police, they will probably have released them. Some couple of weeks ago, I was listening to the news, and it was very interesting that the PRO for the Lagos State Police Command, the lady was saying something about one Joseph Jack, notorious armed robber.
That's in Braid.
Yeah, that was caught, and that died. So the people were raising questions that probably it was a police brutalization. That what happened, they need to investigate. And he cleared. He said something. He said something that struck me. He said this guy has been arrested not once, not twice by the police, but some way, somehow, this guy get out of the prison. And I asked myself, how does people like this get out of the system? And the public is saying all this, and they wait for the time they will catch these people themselves and want to leash them. So it's a distortion from both the end of the government, the end of the agencies of handling security, and of course that disorientation between the people. So it's all of this have to come back to bring sanity into this into this issue, and that is one of the things that I think we should start talking about.
Okay, I think we need to revisit some factors of Nigeria's historical antecedents with regards to security lives and property. Now, how would you say that the advent, or how would you describe the activities of the vigilante groups, the various ones we have? For instance, in the eastern part, there used to be these Bakassi boys. In the southwestern, there is this Odua People's Congress, OPC, and all that, and all that. Now, how would you say that their powers are being really strengthened by the constitution? Is it really constitutional for these groups to operate?
Vigilantes are not actually constitutionally created. They were created by laws of states, trying to get people involved, in taking care of security issues in their communities, in their local government, and of course to support the police. If you look at the north presently, the Boko Haram issue, you realize that they got to a point that the people voiced that they want to be part of the fight against Boko Haram, that they actually consider themselves into vigilante groups, but the government had to come in to organize it and formalize it. In different parts of the country today, we have that particular group that whereby the government now brings a law to formally recognize them and accept them. Now, their role is simple. It's basically to help identify crimes in the society, in the community, because the police are not everywhere. And once they apprehend culprits, whether it is confirmed or not confirmed, they're supposed to hand them over to the police so that the police can, investigate properly, because everybody has a right to be heard and, a right to justice.
Okay, Akina, let's take our first reaction this morning. Good morning. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's have your contribution.
This program today. So we are looking on how to put an end to this women brutality. I think this news is quite shocked when we see something like this towards last year coming out on the newspaper, even on YouTube. Is quite shocked. There are people outside watching Nigeria. If you can do something like this to your own fellow human being, what won't you do? What will you say to those committing those suicide bombers? What will you say about them, those killing people like chicken? How can you differentiate yourself with such people like this? The people in Ejibo make a big mistake by taking that law on their hand. And they take that law on their hand because the police, the force itself, have lost their own dignity in this nation. Where you see an armed robber that committed a big crime, being arrested, taken to the police station, not less than a month or 2 months, you see that person outside again, doing what? How did he manage to come out? How did they manage to release them? If we must stop something like this, if we must stop woman brutality, it cannot be by announcement. It cannot be by recitation, casting news every day. No, there is a major step to take to handle all these things. And those steps to handle all these things, you need to talk, they need to sit down, have a committee to talk to our Senate, to watch well into this constitution, the constitution we are using. Why will it be that if anybody being caught of an offense, when they take that person to court, before you know, they'll bail that person from court. When you take somebody to police station, before you know, somebody will stand as a shorty and tell the person. Why would Ejibo take those laws in their hand? Because the police have lost their right. Police, the policemen in Nigeria, just many of them lost their integrity over people. They don't know how to manage things. They don't know how to handle a case like this. Because whatsoever we do is a message and a signal to others. Others may do the same thing and go out of it. So if the people in Ejibo know that, yes, if such woman should be handled to the police personnel, and tomorrow they know that somebody like that will be out, or another person will repeat such, then nothing will stop others from going into such act, stealing, killing and destroying things that belongs to others. So taking the law on their hand is a big mistake, and it is not a new thing in Nigeria here. Sometimes you see people in Lagos line, you see people when they caught a thief, the next thing you see a put tire on it, try to burn that person down. The police have failed to take their chance and their right to work. Corruption is one of the things causing all these things. It will be difficult for you to see somebody to stand and say he wants to pay his respect to a police personnel. It was not just 2 weeks they caught a thief here in Sokoto Central Market, and before you know, that thief, not that the same month they caught, that last month, and this month now they release him.
Well, a big thanks to our contributor there from Sokoto. Well, he's of the opinion that, in summary, that the police has failed. That's why we see some of these issues happen.
I share his opinion, and I think that's one of the things that we need to start doing. We need an overhaul of our security system. beyond just the woman, female molestation, generally police, people's respect for the, dignity of the police has, dwindled over the years. And
I think recently there was this rebranding measure being taken by the police to perhaps change their uniform and all that.
Obviously,
They haven't changed anything yet.
It's not changing anything, and I think there is so much rot in the police that needs to be worked on. When we talk about the new Nigeria, trying to present a new image of Nigeria, outside the world, these are not the kind of news that people need to see. We need to preach more of sincerity. And then one of the things that I think we have in Nigeria, a problem we have, is that we have a good constitution. Even the present constitution that we have right now is still very good if we can only enforce and implement it. A lot of impunity is going on everywhere, and nobody is calling anybody to answer until public begin to react about a particular issue. It doesn't get to the attention of the IG of police. It doesn't get attention of the House of Assembly. It doesn't get attention of the public. Look at this incident. This happened February last year. The video just got leaked out. Some people saw it. Some people recorded that video. People saw it, and people's sensitivity alone again is also causing it. What will have happened if probably somebody like me and a lot of other people like me, myself, were just around the market, probably will have stopped and intervened.
Okay, we'll look at that. Let's look at that after this contribution. Good morning. Yeah, good to have you. Good morning, Mr. Austin.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is Austin calling from Kano. It is good to join you this morning. Well, I want to say that generally women are treated with disdain and lack of respect, which ought not to be, because they are our mothers, and they are supposed to be our caregivers. But because of lack of value system in our society, they are treated as second-class citizens. Sometimes they are the last to be hired in a company and the first to be fired in the same company, because they are looked upon as unproductive and incapable of delivering, compared to their male folks. But let me just say that the absence of the strong rule of law in the country gives rise to this brutality and people taking laws into their hands. If we have a strong constitution, a strong rule of law that guarantees the rights of every individual, I think people will not want to take laws into their hands. People will treat their fellow humans with dignity, with respect, knowing that the law watches over every action. But because of a society that is a little bit weak in terms of enforcement of laws, you read and watch and see accounts of this nature go on. It is left for the Senate, the House of Assembly, to ensure that people watch carefully what they do, because the laws are there to bring justice and correction to their action. Unless that is done, people will still feel they can take laws into their hands and get away with it. Until there are punitive measures put in place, people will not know the consequences of taking laws into their hands. So it is sad that women brutality goes on in the country. It is as a result of lack of value system. When the society realizes that the gender they are oppressing is actually the most important gender, the gender that gives birth, that multiplies, that fills the earth with humans, I think they will learn how to treat the female folk with more respect and with more dignity. It is quite sad that women sometimes are unable to cater for themselves because of their position, and they are susceptible to certain actions like what happened in Ijibo. So, but we call on the government to ensure that women are empowered so that such cases of minor thievery or pilfering will not occur. It is important that women are catered for and empowered to be able to care for their children and live a more dignified life in the society. And above all, let our laws be strengthened so that people won't take laws into their hands. Thank you very much, and God bless.
From Kano, Mr. Austin. Well, I'm sure you'd love to react to his contribution this morning.
Yeah, like I just said, we need to enforce our laws. Even if you have new laws today, if we don't properly enforce them, things will still be in disarray.
No, there's a part of the 1999 Constitution as amended, that's Section 34 to be precise. Now, I wouldn't state it so perfectly, but I know that it has to do with respecting the dignity of every individual, not men here, every individual comprising of men and women. And it also further states that nobody should be unduly punished. Do you understand?
Yeah.
If investigations have not been put in place and all that. Now, would you say that Nigerians have, at some very bad extent, not been able to abide by this part of the Constitution?
Sometimes you find out that many people don't even understand their rights. Many people don't know the law, and even the so-called law enforcement agency, they don't even work with the law. This is clear in the law. Apart from the fact that the role of government is to provide basic security for people and welfare and so on, it is also, every Nigerian has a right to be heard. Everybody has a right to be. If you look at other developed countries, you realize that even a suicide bomber, when caught, will still spend years in prison before they finish the trial because he's given the fairness to be heard. And that is one of the things that, you can't exceed that in our society. But that's why we need to start, changing things, changing our mindset, going to the rural area, going to the communities to sensitize people on how they can handle issues like that. And this can come from the police if they are sincere enough. The police can organize, sensitization lectures for market women, for local traditional rulers, let them understand the rules of engagement when it comes to, curbing crime and stemming violence in the community, because the community is actually where all these things breed. So these are some of the things that we need to start doing. The government, the police needs to step up their game to ensure that culprits are apprehended and they are prosecuted, and it is clear. And I think by the time people begin to see that, even for women alone, people, you molest any woman, you are jailed. You molest any woman, laws are being implemented. People will sit up. People will be very careful. People will rather catch you and hand you over to the right authority rather than take laws there, because if they are caught, they will be apprehended. Now
that takes me down to India. I remember, I think 2 years ago precisely, when this young lady was raped in Delhi, the bus rape thing, and her fiancé was brutally injured as well. That case actually stemmed international reaction and all that, and it resulted in India strengthening its laws against rape and all that. But quite unfortunately that recently, I think about 3 weeks, we had reports there that I think about 7 women raped a 20-year-old girl, still in the same India. And now, would you say that something actually went wrong in implementing the laws that were stated there? And how do you think Nigeria can actually learn from that development as well?
I think, when laws are made and enforced, it takes a while before it begins to become, strong in the minds of people. No matter how many laws we make, we will still have people that will, go against the law, people that will still commit those crimes. And, it's just, pertinent upon that particular agency or government to ensure that they are caught once they identify. A lot of crimes go on every day. It's not all the crimes that comes to the, to the view of the, security agency, but everyone that is reported should be properly and duly prosecuted, and let people see that justice is being heard. Look at the issue of the story of this lady, I've forgotten her name, in Italy, America, Amanda Knox. Okay. Look at, for years now, that case has been going on because the family wants justice for their daughter that died. I know that's the system, and they keep going through. They release her, they go back for appeal because they have strong argument against her, and so on. We need to wake up in this part of the world. We need to wake up. India, for example, it has not stopped, but they need to enforce it more. Let people understand more. Of course, it's actually a particular problem in India. Indian men mainly, they are actually very, 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 they are very abusive when it comes to issue of rape and so on. I
think they don't even want to appreciate the fact that these are the ladies that pay the dowry there.
Exactly. Being part of the things and their culture, and also, but when government comes into the play, they begin to enforce the law, begin to punish people, and people begin to sit up. And more sensitization. People needs to be oriented. People in schools, among teenagers, because even it's happening as far as that. We see a lot of maybe 40-year-old raping 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 2 months. So many things. So we need to sensitize our parents, our ladies. A lot of things need to be done. It's a collective effort. Apart from implementation of the law, we need to also be informed. We need to be duly informed and oriented and sensitize our people.
Okay, Mr. Sholanke, now let's look at how best you think that the government, stakeholders, private individuals, private companies, non-governmental organizations and all that can come together and start this orientation process. How best would you fit that in?
Number one, we need to strengthen our laws, just like Mr. Austin said. We need to strengthen our laws. Number two, law enforcement agencies need to step up their game and begin to enforce the law. Vigilante groups, or groups of people that it's good for us to have groups like that are protecting our estates, our communities, our residential areas, and so on. But they need to understand the rules of engagement. If they don't know it, then they need to be caught. The security agencies that are recognized by the Constitution needs to engage them and let them know the punitive measures for going against such rules. When that is done, they begin to be very begin to restrain in the way they implement whatever the jungle justice they are doing. And number four, people need to wake up also. People need to understand that it could be you that is being lynched. So when you see anybody being mobbed, like yesterday night around 8 p.m. I was reading on my Twitter, somebody was reporting that somebody was being mobbed right now around 8 o'clock yesterday. And when you see stuff like that, don't just stand and look. It could be you tomorrow. Try and see how you can energize some other people in the crowd there to stop them and probably call the police to come on time and so on. Even though we know that the police still probably have issues on their side, but that is not enough for us an excuse to take innocent blood into our hands. For example, I was looking at an instance. Probably you are going through a market, for example, and just at the point whereby somebody stole something, that was the point you were passing, and the person that owns the stuff did not know or just shouted thief, 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 and it's you. The person that stole it has gone. You're not even given any opportunity to even explain yourself. It's that bad. So people need to understand that. Let people be given the opportunity to express themselves. Let them tell you if they are the ones. Be sure that you have evidence against them, and let the law, let the Constitution. We need to live in a constituted society. It's very bad that we have not been doing that. Even in other area of corruption that regards government officials, if somebody steals just 2,000 naira phone, is jailed for 6 months, 1 year. And a government official steals about billions of naira, is going on 700 bail, and and so on. So we need to strengthen our laws. We need to ensure that we live the only way we can live a sane life in Nigeria is when the law becomes the highest constituted authority, when everybody, both low and high, respect the law. That is one of the things I believe we need to do, and it is only the legislators, both at the local, the state level and at the federal level, that can help us enforce the law, help us ensure that they do their oversight functions, they ensure that the security agencies do their work, and any police officer that a case is reported to, and for example, I'm expecting that the police officers that were in charge of this reported case of Ejigbo are properly punished for probably not investigating properly and not taking it, properly. I even learned that they were asking for money to release those people on bail. Certainly. This has to go so that the police can start seeing that they can't afford to let this go on, because they will be caught and they will be prosecuted.
Well, for now, it's been learned that the Lagos State government, under the leadership of Governor Babatunde Fashola, has given the affected family 1 million naira, and there are some other donations from some other non-governmental organizations. Well, I wouldn't want to judge on that, but I'm sure you have a reaction to that. And secondly, now the Inspector General of Police has actually he stepped in, and that was when about 4 or 5 suspects were arrested. Now, does it have to get to that level? And looking at the compensation, would you say it's really enough for this family?
We'll still say thank you to the governor, because nobody has done anything, but he's taking a gesture and he's actually doing something. Of course, no amount of money can be used to compare to the life that is lost, to the reputation, to the stigma, to the trauma the lady, probably the daughter now that is alive, is going to go through, and so on like that. I even saw that it took them days after the police stepped in, after the Yaloja stepped in. It took them days before the culprits were apprehended, and they know these people that caused before the chairman, the king. I learned that they were brought to the king's palace before the king handed them over to the police. All of us must wake up. Local government chairmen, traditional rulers, everybody must wake up, because it can be your child tomorrow. If you can think of it that way, I think probably we'll see it right.
I like that. Akinla Sholanke urging Nigerians both at home and abroad to do something with regards to putting an end to such devastating developments. And of course, that directly goes to you out there. If you indeed desire this change, let the change begin with you. That's a very possible way way to fast timing the change you seek. Well, it's been wonderful having you this morning, Akin Ashanake. We do hope to have you some other time, frequently on the program. Thank you very much. And for our esteemed viewers out there, we keep saying our success just keep being part of our success on your wonderful ACBN to Rise Africa. I remain Adeolu Balogun until we come your way tomorrow for another edition of Rise Africa. Of course, it happens on your same station and same time. Just keep being with God, keep enjoying the very best of His grace and mercies. And until then, stay blessed. Don't forget, you can also watch us live on www.acbntv.org for our live streaming. There are other segments there, books, shops, everything you can find on the platform. Just hit the website, and of course you enjoy yourself for the rest of the day. Until then, stay blessed.
ACBN, the channel of champions.